Hey everybody, it's Dark, we're back with more work on the tank game here. So I went ahead and actually have done a little bit of work on this, but it's not going to be exactly what we're going to be talking about and doing for this video. But I went ahead and I moved the starting point here, so for those videos of people that actually been watching and following along, the spawn point was up here, and it was actually a big, long, windy tunnel that came down here. I was getting really annoyed going through that and testing, and I knew a player was going to get annoyed as well because there was no point of it, so I went ahead and moved it down. I still want to leave some bit of a tunnel here because I don't want to just dump the player right out into the test area. I want there to be a little bit of a movement going here. Not much. I may end up changing this a little bit more because I do need to inject dialogue here. That's the whole reason for having the tunnel in the first place, but that's not entirely important. Some of the stuff is a little bit more important. I've added 2 checkpoints. The first one is quite obviously just there so you don't have to go through the spinny thing again. The second one, not as obvious as there, because I know a player is going to get to this point, do something dumb, and get themselves killed and then complain. So we have a checkpoint there. I'm probably going to end up putting a checkpoint back over here, because what we're going to do is have this portal actually dump you back to the start point, and then we're going to have a room per test to go through. That way the player can select what they want to do without me making complicated GUIs and everything else. But neither of those things are what we're going to work on. So what I want to work on is actually learning how to use the rule-based tiles for the tile map system. These are things I was talking about what I called smart tiles in a couple of the videos. But they're called rule-based tiles. They are actually part of an extra package you do have to download, so they are not included in Unity, which is really unfortunate because they seem very necessary to actually get stuff going. But it's an extra package that you have to download, part of 2D Extras. So you go to this link right here, you download it, you get the asset package. Asset package basically comes with some brushes and some extra tile stuff, so you can basically make animated tiles, pipeline tiles, random tiles, roll override tiles, rule tiles, which is what we're going to do. I believe terrain tile is a prefab version of roll tile, but I haven't really learned how to use any of this stuff yet. I've watched a few videos on the roll tile, and I think I know enough, just enough, that we're going to be able to do a video and actually move forward with that. So I've got that downloaded, I've got that in here. And we need to get some tiles. First though, we need to get some textures going. I have been toying around with this. I'm trying to learn how to texture, and I mean like properly texture. I'm sucking at it. So what I'm actually trying to do here is some version of dithering is what it's called. It's basically this concept about doing something with it, which basically doing this to give you more of a pattern. The only problem with putting all this effort in here is when we actually do zoom out, you really can't see it. You gotta imagine if this was in this level over here. So let's actually go to the game level here and see if I can, you know, I need to put like a little dot over here just so I can really explain just how small these tiles actually are. So let's get a sand tile and just paint it right here in the camera view. That's not what I wanted to do. So look how small that is. That's how small that tile is. So those tiles in the game are even smaller than this. It's actually making me wonder if I either A, want to increase the tile size, which I really don't want to do because this will mess up Grogger's levels, or B, go to a 16 by 16 resolution. The B is what I'm more thinking about going to because these are going to be small, and there really isn't much of a point in making really high resolution textures if we know we are not going to have detail. To be honest, I'm even considering going smaller than that and just doing 8 by 8 tiles because these are small. Like if I hit play and go into this, like even you consider the fact I'm on a 1080p monitor, which is like 1920 by 7000 something. I actually don't know if that's what you would call 1080p. I just know the monitor is 1080p. If my mouse will behave. So we got the level. Stuff is actually remarkably small in here. And we kind of need this zoom level. This is one of the things I talked about in an earlier video. At least I hope I did. Because I've got so many videos queued up I still need to edit. No clue which ones are going to get uploaded, which ones are not. So maybe one of the ones I'm not actually going to upload. But we were actually digging through and spending a huge amount of times working on the zoom levels and stuff to figure out how we're going to do things. How much area we want to see on the screen. Because if we actually remove this, and let's actually maximize on play. Hit play again. I gotta wait for it to load. So we actually maximize the play. It's not as big of a deal because now you got a little bit more detail on the screen size. But the problem is we still don't have a lot of space on the screen. And what I'm really talking about is you can imagine like we're actually going to end up with more GUI junk on the screen. There's going to be a mini map somewhere, which I'm probably going to put up here because that's my preferred way of doing it. We're going to have weapons. We're going to have weapon groups and power-ups. Power-ups are probably going to go to the bottom. Weapon groups are probably going to go bottom left. Just because I can. And then if we ever add players are going to probably either end up here. If we do a mini map, it might be up here, could be down here in the bottom, or I might put in the middle if I want to mimic my favorite game, MechWarrior. Probably actually not going to put in the middle because that's something we discuss later anyways. But there's going to be stuff in here, so you can imagine we only really have this amount of screen right here to work with, to actually put stuff inside of. And there's only going to be so much space for enemies to go into. This is actually one of the thoughts where I've even been considering to zoom out even further, because even though this is small, even though we have the bullets and stuff, which that audio is a little too loud. I don't know how loud it's going to sound in the actual video. Hopefully it's not louder than I am talking, probably is. But we have like bullets that are moving, can't really see the bullets. It's actually been something I'm thinking about upscaling those, so that we're a little larger. But then we have the tank, which isn't really big, not a lot of screen space going on. Enemies are probably not going to be that big either. And you're going to be able to need to see kind of attacks coming in. It's really the problem with top-downs, and I think it's just an issue with top-downs in general. Actually, 2D games in general, I think, have this problem, where you don't got a lot of screen view. But ignoring all that, our tiles are small. So we have this tile. This is a 32 by 32 tile. That's what this actually is. It's meant to be sand, and if we actually can find the tank file screen, I'm actually on my second monitor. Drag this down here. And we actually go to assets, textures. This folder is becoming a cluster. I really need to organize it. But if we come into here and we find our tiles, actually open this up. So this is what these look like. These are actually quite detailed tiles. They actually have a good decent amount of detail in them. But then you come over here and you check, so you look at this sand tile, which is what that is. You look at that, you lose almost all of that detail because of the size. And it's where I'm thinking an 8x8 tile would even work for this. Going with a smaller tile size, A, actually would probably improve in performance, and then B, we can be forced to get more, we'd be able to better define how the detail would be working. I think this might be actually a good opportunity to experiment with the video and actually figure out what kind of detail works. So let's actually go ahead and edit that. So let's get it out of here. So I was toying around with what's going to end up being the testing level tile set, but I'm probably going to do this in Paint because I'm getting actually tired of GIMP at this moment. GIMP is cool. GIMP lets you do really cool things like do these guidelines, which are really, really useful, especially when we still have that problem with bleed over. It has not been solved yet, and I still don't know how we're going to solve it. But we have the bleed over, which for those who don't actually remember the earlier videos or didn't watch them, effectively this tile right here is 32 by 32. Then we have a 1 pixel gap, which was originally 2 pixel when we had a 64 by 64 before I downscaled it a while back. But bleed over is when you have two tiles sitting next to each other, and Unity has to stretch that tile by 1 pixel for resolution reasons. I don't actually know why it's doing that, but it does that. And it needs to actually figure out what to do with that extra pixel. So if your texture was, say, 32 by 32 and now it stretched it to 33 by 33, you need an extra pixel. And what it does is it has a tendency to grab the next pixel over rather than re-grabbing this pixel. And it's probably just for simplistic reasons that they need to render something and they need to send some kind of data to the client, and then rather than scaling or doing something or letting shaders take over on the graphics card, they just go, okay, instead of this being our UV being 32, it's now 33, and they just send the texture to the client. But to fix that, I send the texture to the graphics card. To fix that, they just, or on my side, I just add the extra border around there. So we actually have to keep that in mind when we're doing these textures. But yeah, doing this in GIMP is kind of annoying. So we're probably going to end up actually making these in Paint, simply because it actually might go a little faster. Anyways, let's go ahead and close this one out. We want to come over here, go to our textures inside here, go to our tiles, and I want to open up my ground tile set again. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple sample tiles, and we want to see what kind of resolution would work best. And we're going to fake the resolution simply by taking the 32 by 32 tile and then putting different size pixels on it. And then we're going to see what kind of detail we can see with our eye at this resolution. And in reality, we may end up having to create several texture sheets, which may be tedious to do, because I actually do want to distribute this as a cell phone game, which is not going to work in this format. I have no clue how I'm going to do the cell phone version of this game if I get around to it, because this bar right here is not going to work. Like, actually, here's how I can explain this even better. Imagine this was your cell phone screen. Actually, you know what? Let's assume like they would have the cell phone screen at like side angle. This is your cell phone screen. Yeah, that's too much space to take up. This would be horrible to play as a cell phone game. I actually don't even know how we're going to actually manage a cell phone game if we ever do one. We may just skip out on this game and we go for the next game. Because like the next game we're planning on working on is going to probably be a side-scroller, an actual just 2D side-scroller. That would work on a cell phone game because I can just put the controls on the left and right side and you just use your thumbs to move them rather than doing touchscreen behavior. I could probably do the same thing with this game, but I would have to rewrite this game more or less to actually get it work. But ground tiles, now that GIMP finally loaded it, that whole intermission was just waiting for GIMP to load the texture sheet. So we want to make some textures. So we actually have a few textures in here, and a lot of these are just crap. A few of these were just kind of made. Some of these were borrowed. Like, these are actually all test assets. I don't plan to use a single one of these in the final game. I actually probably am going to reset this entire tile sheet here later today and redo it. But we want to make some test tiles. So I'm going to duplicate that cracked sand layer, which is actually our toxic waste, is what this one up here I think is. We're going to find out quickly if I can move this. Yes, I can move this. Okay, I'm going to take it down, all the way down here. Which is going to be a little tricky because I don't know if we're going to get this grid aligned. So we're going to have to guess. I'm pretty sure the green line is our grid. But then stuff isn't really lining up. It's close enough. So we want to clear this out, obviously. And then we're just literally going to bucket feed it. And we're going to make these red, just because. Oh, that's turned out to be brown. So not just an easy color. I just do that, that'll work. And it's bright, but it'll be fine. So we want to start off with our first tile. And we just want to, so I know like 1 pixels are not going to work whatsoever. So let's try 2 pixels. And what we're going to do is do something like this, so that way at least I have something. Is it me or is that blurring? Wow, we're even getting like render problems in just GIMP. There's like a slightly faint blur on the edge of these. Fun times. So we got that. If we zoom out to 100, you can actually see that we're not going to see that whatsoever already. So we already know this is probably not going to work. But I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it anyways. And we're just going to make a couple of these. Because I just want to see how these are going to behave. Get our next set going. These will be 4 wide. And of course I need to get rid of those. I'm going to duplicate this. So now that's going to be there. I'm actually just going to put that there, duplicate it again, and do that. Because I can then just erase it in a second. Let me make sure that is 4. Yep, cool. Because I just kind of winged that one. So that gives us our bigger tile set. See, we can see those. So we're getting promises at this point of potential. Duplicate this layer again, and we're going to go up. Because effectively what we're doing is this would be, we could consider this our 16 by 16. This would be our 8 by 8. And the next one would be our 4 by 4, basically, is what we're kind of doing. Because if you think of this as a 2 by 2 is a single pixel, then yeah, this would be a 16 by 16. And then if you think of this as a 4 by 4 pixel, then yes, if you take 32 divided by, you get 8. We can also use this as a scale indicator of like how much detail we need. Do that real quick, so I can easily delete those. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to wonder if like some of this pixelation I'm seeing is actually GIMP rendering bad, or if it's this monitor I have. Because this monitor I've been using for the stream setup is actually not the greatest. It was literally manufactured somewhere around 2008, 2009, and I've had it for a very long time. It's a great monitor, but it is actually starting to hit its lifespan. I could actually tell that the ballast is starting to mess up on it. So this would be, wow, that would be a pretty big sizable tile set. You're not gonna like behave whatsoever now today. There it goes. That must have behaved. I was trying to like get the collar and it wasn't working. Actually, I need to get rid of that one too. So these should be our tile sets. It should work. Give us some indication of scale, and if we zoom out, we can see those really well. We can sort of see those. And if you scale out 50%, which is what our actual, really close to where our actual tiles are, if you look up there, those are about the same size. We can see this one, we can't see that one, and we cannot see that one. So we know we may end up going down to an 8x8 tile. This would be the weirdest thing ever, but we would be able to get more detail. Because if we keep our current tile size right now, we get more detail. But then we have less. This is actually where it starts getting a little interesting. This is why I'm trying to wonder if we should be scaling these up. Because if we keep these small, we get a huge amount to work with. But it also means it's going to take longer to make levels. The other option, what we could also do, is we could scale our entities down, which would make the tiles look bigger, even though they're not actually bigger. I don't know if I want to go through that option either, because we're also running into a problem. Like if we go and like actually start the game, the tank doesn't have a lot of detail in it already, so we're having problems with our vehicles not looking good either, because the detail is too high. So you see, like here, this actually doesn't look too bad from this camera view, but if I can get this to zoom in, you see how it actually ends up looking. That is pixelated really badly. Let's actually see if we can get the camera to drive us over to the sand. See, the sand right there is actually not horribly pixelated for what it is. The tank, by the way, is like a 400 by 400 is what its actual sprite is. The actual width is somewhere closer to like 220 though. So it's like a 220 by like 300-ish. It's not bad when you're zoomed out though. So it actually looks okay. We've lost detail though because you can't really read the numbers out. You can't really see the grill in the back. And there isn't a lot of ways to fix this without actually going in and messing with the camera and making the camera zoom in and out. I don't really want to downscale the tanks too much because we may have cinematic scenes where we actually intentionally zoom the camera in. Because if we go to scene view, if I can actually figure out how to get the scene view from this. How do we... Once you maximize, I don't know how to actually get out of maximize. So let's actually hit play again. Wait for Unity to do its thing. Tank spawns, we go to scene view, because if we actually look at this through scene view, this actually doesn't look too bad scene view wise. Let's actually, I could just drag the tank if I want to. If it'll let me. I've been having problems actually selecting things recently because of the fact that I've got a canvas over top of the level. Turn off, there's a way to turn off gizmos. We got icons. Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna leave that one off. It makes it a little easier to see. But you actually zoom in and like this actually does look pretty good. So if we had a camera zoom in and out for cinematic scenes, actually having higher res textures is somewhat useful because then you would zoom in, you would see all the detail in the tank, you would see the tile detail. So we don't want to go too small because then that hurts our chances of doing cinematics. So we got to do a balancing act. Anyways, let's go ahead and get this exported. Let's actually look at see what these look like in game. So export as ground tile. We don't have to reslice anything, but we are going to probably have to wait for Unity to figure out what the flip is doing. Oh no, it actually, that was really quick how quickly it actually went. So we got our tiles here, and if we go to tile palette, they actually show up. And make sure we're in scene view. Pray that when I click this doesn't snap. It did not snap. Sweet. So we'll paint 3 of those, paint 3 of those, and paint 3 of those. So those actually look sizable from the scene view. game view. It'll switch tabs on me. I actually click save, which is, oh, why did you flip? That was bizarre. So here we go. So I can kind of see the first one, and my eyesight sucks, which saying that too. The second one's not too bad, but it is a little blurry. The third one, though, has a significant amount of detail. So I think for sure we are actually going to go to a 16 by 16. I don't know about doing 8 by 8s just yet. Because if we do an 8 by 8, it doesn't give us a lot of pixels to play with. Well, let me do the math. It's like, should be like 64, yeah. A 16 by 16 is like 256. And I cannot do 32 by 32 in my head. So that gives pixels a lot. Doesn't mean making art's going to be significantly easier. And I actually know a few artists that will actually do 16 by 16 for me textures for roughly a couple dollars a texture. So that's actually useful going down there. Because once you, like, for example, once you go to 32 by 32, that same artist would charge me, I think it's like $4 a texture. And the 60 by 60 is like $2 to $3 a texture. And that's if I do them in bulk batches. If I do them individually, then it starts going up in price. Like it's like a lot closer to $6 a texture. So that's actually a really good ideal. I don't know if that artist will do an 8 by 8. I would have to ask. So this is where we still need to figure things out. So yeah, 16 by 16 is a must. 32 by 32, we aren't going to get any use out of it. This also comes down to, if we go to scene view, say we had zoomed the camera. It's actually where, hold on, let me actually mess with the camera. Grab my camera. So we have it set to 20. So if we went to 10, for example, 16 by 16 looks okay. 32 by 32, I can see those. But 16 by 16 is still good. So we went down to 50% zoom, and actually if I hit play on this, pop the tank open. I want to get the tank compared next to these, see how much detail difference we have. You can actually read the text on that for once, and actually see the grill, although the grill's not, it's still kind of crap. I'm gonna rework this texture. This is the tank here, even though this is a tank that's going to be kept in the game. The texture definitely is going to need a lot of work. With doing all this testing and actually experimenting and everything else with the textures, has revealed a lot to me that we do need to make probably smaller vehicles, texture-wise. So I think I'm going to actually downscale this Lancer tank texture. That way it'll upscale in the game, because it should, at least I hope it will, scale back to its normal scale. I have the collider box on here though, so if I go tank, go to scene view, I have a collider box in here, so I actually know how big this should have been. So if I end up downscaling it to like say 200 by 200, anyway, I could just double it anyway. So if I go in the tank, it should have a sprite in here. Actually, I believe the tank has its texture directly on it, which I need to fix. I actually have gotten in the habit of not putting texture sheets directly on the objects anymore, even though it's still on here. This is like, the tank is literally the first thing that was made in this game, by the way. It was like the first thing I made, and then I made the tile map. So yeah, we'd probably remove these, and we'd probably stick them on a sublayer. That way we can scale them, because you could actually scale by doing this. So if we, like, for example, wanted to scale the turret up, we just put a number like that. It's not that big of a deal. If we want to scale, actually if we want to scale the whole vehicle down, I could actually come up to here. I could scale the entire vehicle down. This will do its collision box for me as well. Like, imagine if our tank was that, then like a texture set like that would make more sense. To be honest, even like a texture set, like a 16 by 16 even makes sense when your tank is that small. Let's go ahead and put this back up. So yeah, 16 by 16 is what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and we've confirmed that. So we need, I'm not going to downscale our current textures because I just honestly don't want to mess with it. Because I can fix the scaling. I can sort of fix the scaling by coming over to the tie-up palette and just changing what its resolution is. Actually, this is handled, I believe this is handled on this thing. Oh no, not this, this thing right here. No, that's our PNG. I am actually kind of not sure how I handle this. Is it handled via the tile palette? I don't think it is. I know there's a way to slice this. No? No? Maybe? How did we do this? It might actually be the tile palette. But no, it has to be somewhere in here because we definitely have sliced this before. I just honestly don't remember. We have all the tiles here, so I know we've done it. We only have 223 tiles though. It's not a bad number though. Select dependency, refresh, re-import all, run API updater, update UI schema. This is confusing. Do we edit it here? No, that just lets you move stuff. So it's not this. We definitely slice it through this though. No, it's in the inspector. That's what I'm kind of confused at. The sprite editor's right there. I'm not sure what I wanted to be in here for though. Yeah, we can set our pixels per unit, so we can actually set this to be 16. And the map didn't break. Oh, because I have to apply it. This actually will break the map when I hit apply. Oh no, it scaled everything. Hold on. If I paint something in the level, is it going to behave? I don't think it is going to behave. Did you see how like none of this is grid aligned right now? Yeah, it's not going to work. So basically what that just did is our tile still is 32 by 32, but the game thinks it's 16 by 16, so now it's not properly tile slicing. So if we actually go back up, hit apply, it'll fix. So we can downscale this, which I've done before already, so I know it actually was already a thing. I really wish there was a way to simply say I wanted to downscale. Speaking of which, I watched some artists actually mess with this compression, but it doesn't actually let me change the compression. Maybe because they moved it all up here already. Because I noticed there's like an sRGB. It doesn't matter. It's a mint mapping feature. I wonder what that does. Generate mint maps. Great. So I think mint map will change our like when we zoom in and out, it'll change how it behaves. Okay. So let's make, actually, let's just downscale this. This won't kill me. Because we know we're going to do this, and I already know I'm not going to keep this image, or keep these tile sheets anyway, so if I break anything, I don't care. I made everything grainy, and we lost all detail on the rails, so we know that now. Although, to be honest, I'm going to make the rails bigger if I end up using them again. Everything else, for the most part, still looks okay. And then you can see our little dots changed here. So well, that was a 2x2, that is now a 1 dot. It's a 2 dot, or that's a 4 dot. We're going to save this. We're going to export to ground. Watch Gogger not even notice I changed any of this. And this is going to break everything because now our tiles are no longer the same size. Hit apply, and that should update everything. So much for actually doing this video on roll tiles. We're going to get to at least one roll tile before we close this video out though. Make sure of that, but oh come on. You should re-render. You know what I actually probably have to do? I'm going to probably have to edit my tile palette. Okay, we're not going to find new textures, we're going to find new objects. Tiles. I think I just come over here. Cell size. No, you're fine actually. Maybe it's a tile render. No. No. Cell sizing. Manual. Automatic. Nope. nothing seems to be changeable in that area. So let's go. Oh, we may have to reslice our tiles. That may be what changed. Yeah, because every tile just broke. Fun times, right? Okay, so this is that. Sprite. Yep, that's what happened. Cool thing is we can do this. Wow, it's actually got the old value still in here. 16, offset 1, padding 1, slice. That doesn't look aligned. Offset 1 maybe? No, offset 0. Yeah, there we go. So let me, is there a way to zoom in? Yes, there's a way to zoom in. Cool. That's not correct. We're actually gonna have to redo this whole sheet. It's not that big of a deal though. That's weird though, because did we by chance, like when we scaled this image, leave on one of the, no, it's interpolate none. 256 by 256. I don't know what this resolution actually does. No, it does actually break our image a little bit. Zoom out. Scale image. So let me actually divide 512 by 2. Yeah, it's 256. Just it's weird because like we downscale and we literally lost a pixel. Let me check the size of this. This should be 18 by 18. It's not. It's 17 by 17. So something happened while we scaled. Because it should have been... Oh, it's because you probably aren't going to get a 34 to scale down by 2. So 34 divided by 2 is going to be 17. So this is actually remarkably... The algorithms are running well. They're actually doing what they're supposed to do. The problem is it broke our images. How to fix this? Because what we're gonna have to do is we're just going to have to save it. We're gonna have to come over here. We're going to have to slice this the proper way, even though it's not gonna look good. Because we need the one at pixel edge bleed. We have to have that, or the images aren't gonna work properly. But I'll come through and adjust the tiles because it won't kill me to do it. We'll just get everything sliced. Hit apply so that way all of our sprite sheets work. I don't like the way that looks. What? I don't even want to know. Like, it should slice properly. That's the dumb thing about this. But now, like... I don't... Oh, there it goes. It's updating. So it looks like the correct tiles are where they're supposed to be. Check tile palette. Tile palette looks correct. What is going on with my scene? I really hope my level didn't get broken just because I redid the tiles. This is one of the cool things about us going to roll tiles. Theoretically, roll tiles will take over for this brokenness a little bit. So that way if we ever flip these around, we will be able to fix the roll tile and not have to go fix the whole map. How do you... There's gonna have to be a way. Like, we may have to just reload the whole level. This breaks. I may just have to revert the changes. But it looks like it worked, because for all intents and purposes, these look like the same tiles. The only problem is, for all intents and purposes, the game doesn't think those tiles exist. Oh, it worked. It reset. It's still a little borked. I'm going to... I don't want to save the scene, because if we save, then we have to revert. It's going to be stupid, but let's go ahead and flip to the test level. Don't save. Okay, it's working. We probably still have... You know, look, it being 16 by 16, I don't think we're going to probably have bleed over happen as often. Speaking of which, I want to hit play just to hear if the audio is going to be horrible. Actually, you know what? These guys don't have audio, so yeah, that's cool. That'll work. Cool. So that fear has been taken care of. So let's go ahead and actually just make some textures. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Yeah, I'm going to close this completely down. And what I'm going to do is just open... We're just going to duplicate the actual... I'm trying to think of how to do this. Yeah, we'll edit this with Paint. Should be able to double click it and hit File, Save As, Tutorial, Level, Tiles, and I don't understand why in the world Paint can never remember where you had stuff open at. Yeah, I don't care. So in here, we're quite literally going to pretty much do this and delete. And we're then going to make ourselves some tiles. And the plan is, if I know I want that bleed over edge, that we just quite literally make ourselves a grid like this. Control C, Control V. Do that. No, it's not going to actually let me Control C it while I'm making it. That's unfortunate. I used to actually do this before I was a game developer, before I actually did mods and stuff, where I would actually do designs in Paint, and this is actually the way I made grid paper. It was like the slowest, tedious process ever, but it actually remarkably did work, and you can end up with some quite good quality grids. And if you saved them and didn't actually remake them, which is what we're going to do, we're actually going to save a duplicate of this in a second, so that way I don't have to remake this. This is actually something I should have done in GIMP right off the back. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to duplicate this entire layer and do this, because this is back in the day also when I used to do mods for like earlier versions of Minecraft. You used to have to provide your own texture sheets. Minecraft, or at least I think it was actually Forge was what did this. It wasn't actually Minecraft doing it. You didn't really have the ability to just make individual sprites. You couldn't just make a sprite and then have Minecraft import it. You had to do this, basically. Anyways, let's make some little tiles here. We're actually not going to duplicate this one too much. I just want to fix these sides off, because what I'm going to do is paint bucket these. And that's not what I wanted to do, because I want to be able to actually paint bucket these in between, so I get a nice contrast. Checkerboard basically style. But yeah. So the old days of modding, you used to actually have to do this for Minecraft, and you actually had to make your own texture sheets. And this is the way we actually did it, is we made grids of 16 by 16s, and we went, hey, we would have a 256 sheet, because I think you were limited by a 256 by 256 sheet. Although you could upscale if you needed to upscale. So if you needed something like, if you needed to have like 32 by 32 textures for your mod, you could have it. You just had to go and change your texture sheet to be a 512 by 512. I just realized how quiet the music actually is through my headphones. It makes me wonder if I actually want to turn the volume up. But yeah, so Unity 5.12. I think your limit, you were limited to like, I think 10,000 by or 1,024. Just kind of how you are normal days, I think, as well. It's the limit is so you 64. No, because 100. Current the game is 128 by 120. I think is the hard limit for mods. And then if you want something higher, you have to go grab something like Optifine, if I recall right, unless it's been changed. It might actually no longer be a thing. I'm actually not going to bucket feed all of these. I just want to get a couple of rows going. And then save, and then we're also going to save as, and we're going to call this grid. And the cool thing about this is if we want to also then like pre-slice a texture set, we can import this and do that. And then of course I need to file and save this as again as tutorial level. Save, and we're going to make our texture. So we know these are 16 by 16. We know we have the bleed over edge. And how we do the bleed over edge is we literally just duplicate. And this is a problem why I think I was working in GIMP is you cannot zoom. Not too big of a deal. But let's go ahead and make our first tile. I'm going to make some toxic waste. And this is literally going to be the easiest texture to do because we're just going to have a whole bunch of green. And we're going to just bucket feed this. And that's legitly going to pretty much be it. And I'm going to do a darker version. No, cancel. I don't want to actually... I hate the fact they have that button there because I click it when I want to go click the edit color. Let's do a dark green border here because this is one of the things where I don't really care if we have bleed over because my border for the toxic waste is literally going to just be a dark green edge. And then I think I kind of want to do some dithering. This is where I was mentioning that I don't really do texture art often enough. Shoot, how to go about this? Because I don't want to get down to this corner down here and then realize. Let's do this. So where? This is a part where it might be useful to do this in GIMP. Let's go ahead and get our other cube going, and I'm going to reopen this in GIMP. So the other part is I need to do some kind of ground tile. And we're going to do this over here. And we're going to also make it just have a solid edge too, so that way I don't have to worry about the bleed over. And then we're just going to not care. We're not going to put anything between these two. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and delete this. And I'm going to fill it in with something dumb like purple, so I know that that's not meant to be used. And we'll do the same thing below it too. It's a bit of a waste. And if I was being really wanting to get a lot out of my tile sets, which I really don't care at the moment for, then of course we would want to make sure that we actually were doing something with this. But this will kind of keep me from mentally messing up, because if I can know where the edges are, I'm less likely to hit the edges. So we got that. Then what we want to do, we're going to want to actually open this up. Delete the U, because I don't need you anymore because you were an earlier attempt to do stuff. And then we're going to want to show and explore because we're going to have to actually right click this and hit open in GIMP. I actually was going to update my GIMP before we started this, which might turn out the newer version again. We're running 2.8 and the latest is like 2.10. And I think this version was released in 2015. There we go, we can zoom in a lot nicer. Yay! And we can also do some cool things like actually get some grid layouts. So, first thing, I want to create a grid from this one. This will be image, create guides from selection. So that'll tell me where my bleed over edge is, which is super useful. And then I want to then come over, create a 16 by 16. And then we just want to repeat the whole create guidelines. New guide from selection. And I'm really not going to do a ton of these because it will just be tedious. Because then we have 16 by 16. Then we would have our bleed over, which is what these dots technically are doing for us. Because if we actually do this with a dot, we would go find out that's an 18 by 18. And I wonder if I can actually... There's a way to do this. Image, configure guides. And what we can do is actually make these a dashed line. Or a solid line. Solid line I actually like. We're going to go with that. So that tells me where 18s are. And this is where it's kind of useful because now I know where I need to stop with the dithering. So let's grab this and fix our paintbrush because it for some reason thinks we're going to paint with huge numbers. And we can do our little dithering thing here, which is really not going to probably make a huge difference when it comes to visuals, but I want that option. So here's our bleed over edge, and how we're going to do our bleed over edge is literally duplicate here, and then duplicate there, and then this is where our actual texture starts again. Let's actually go down here. I want to have that corner set up here, so I'm going to dither from the other direction real quick. Hopefully I'm using the word dither right, because to be honest I'm not a texture person, so I'm literally guessing. I really hope this lines up in some kind of... Nope, it does not. So now we need to figure out from here, how many pixels do we need to go to get to 8? That's 8 right there. And that means right there at that spot there, you just have this little 2 by, which is not going to make it 2 by, because you're not going to see it. Because if you go out to 100%, you aren't really going to see that, which is the reason why I wonder why I'm even bothering with it, but it'll look okay. Anyways, you just kind of want to pretty much duplicate this and just rotate it. This is the reason why I wanted to redo this, because my original attempt at this, what I inevitably was trying to do is make each one of these a separate layer, and then was editing a separate layer, which is kind of what you're supposed to do, but it's, oh my god, it was tedious. So this is actually the second time I went through and did this, but we answered some really important questions. We actually managed to actually figure out what we want to do with textures. This is probably the second time I've done this too, but maybe even third. Get that rotated. Oh, I hate rotation. It's like, yeah, we're going to apply cubic to something that is too small for cubic to even work on. It's where I wonder if they ever actually took the time to recognize what they were doing with this. And I actually want this to be 90. Hit rotate. I think that looks okay. My eyes don't work well enough to tell me if that actually is proper. And we want to, oh, because I should have copied that before I pasted it. We're going to grab this again, because then we can just do flip with it, flip vertically. Do that, and that saves me a bit of time. So that gives us all of our dithered sides. We then have all of our textures here, which we're just going to export because we're not going to work on the other one over there right now. We're just going to get it going. Hit save, file, export as, override, replace existing, export. Come over to our thing, and we actually are going to have to slice this because this is a new thing that it hasn't seen before, so it needs to know what metadata this is. Our actual tiles are going to be 16 per unit. We're going to need to go to the sprice editor, apply importing settings. Yeah, just apply, should work. We want to slice. We don't want to automatically sell by grid. These are 16 by 16. I think my default pixel size is set to that, which is the reason why it's there. Do 1 by 1, 1 by 1, slice. Why did that do that? Offset 2 maybe? Yes, offset 2. Okay. Although that didn't work over here, so I'm kind of confused. That's not sliced right. I think we messed up with how we were doing this. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get this, because we know this should be theoretically the correct slice, because we can tell that, yeah, on that side it's correct, and then what we did is we just made this too big. And we might have been able to tell that if we were paying attention to the black lines. Or not. These look correct. $18 by $18. That's a 16 by 16 right there. Well, I've actually got that selected. We might as well guides add from selection. Do the same thing here. It looks correct. So why did we mess up? 1 pixel outside. That's a 16 by 16. 16 by 16. Let's do guides, configure from selection. Yeah, that looks correct. So let's go back to Unity and figure out what we messed up. No texture. Okay, what did you break? Multiple 16 type mesh. Remove that. Probably gonna have to mess with those. Sprite editor. I think I need to set my padding to 2. There we go. Okay, we got it figured out. Yeah, because you would have a padding of 2, because it would be. I was thinking, like, if it does padding, why is it not counting 1 on all sides? I guess it means padding. They really should rename it the spacing, because it's behaving more like a space. Hit apply. It's going to create a huge amount of tiles. Can I actually pick where it makes my tiles, or is it just going to? Oh, it hasn't made tiles yet. So I think what we're going to do is when we actually do make our tiles with this, is we're going to see if we can export this to its own folder. So that way I don't have all this junk in the main folder. And I actually wonder, can I move these to a subfolder without Unity breaking? Let's make a new folder. Create folder. Create a guy that knows how to update. And we're going to call these ground. Because I want to get all of these tiles out of here so it's a lot easier to navigate. Please don't break. Please be intelligent enough to update. Because they're, man, those are kind of modded behaviors, is what those basically are set up as. 1 default asset, 1 texture 2D. Okay. Zoom out, zoom in, nothing seems to break. So I'm going to hope it actually did update. And how we're going to test this really quickly is we're going to go into our levels and we're going to go grab. Why did that change? I don't think I messed with anything in that scene. Let's go load a new level and see what happened. Oh, you can see my Git client up here. All those deletions and edits. Okay, so level loads, so I'm gonna hope that there's something in Unity that understands where those tiles are at, which makes me really happy because I've been wanting to clean up that folder for a while. Because now I can go in there, or no, this is actually objects, and I can go into textures. If it will work doing that, I'm going to see if I can actually inevitably come through here and actually get all of these logic tiles out of the texture folder. Because if we actually go into Explorer and hit like Show and Explorer, that's a ton of data in there that I have to sift through to actually find the texture sheets, and I don't want to do that. So I want to be able to get these tiles out of here at some point. Anyway, so let's go ahead and actually, while we're doing that, make a new folder in here. Create folder. And we'll call this Tut Tiles, because I'm going to go ahead and make a new tile palette. So create new tile palette. Actually, let's hit cancel, because I think I want to make the tile palette. So we're in Assets, Objects, Tiles, and then we're going to want to create should be in here somewhere. Let's see if we can do it from here. Create new tile palette, and we'll call this tutorial tiles. Create. Oh, it is going to tell me like where it's going to ask where it wants to be made. Objects, tiles, and yeah, select folder. Cool. So I make sure that those are in the same spot. Then what we basically need to do is, now that we have our textures made, we just have to go back down to them. Map. Well, not map. I really should throw those in there because I'm going to keep clicking that. And it's going to ask us where it wants to be made, so we're actually going to go up into the folders. So this is cool. I'm liking how this is working out. Select folder. It's generating all of our tiles for us. And we basically, since we already pre-made all the grids and stuff and pre-told where all the slicing is at, we don't have to redo this every time we make the tile sheet. It's going to pre-generate all of our tiles for us, and then all we have to do is change the textures. So when we come back in here and we want to add more and more textures for the tutorial level and whatever, we just add more and more textures to this, and it should handle itself automatically. I doubt we're going to end up with that many textures, so inevitably we'll probably end up coming through here and is re-slicing this in some way. The good news is I could, in theory, make it work. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we don't really worry about it because it's only going to load the sheet like once. Look at all the tiles we got. So we have tiles now. So let's actually get back to our one level. This is going to be a long video. Make sure the music's still playing. Let's actually see if I can fix my speakers. I wonder if my audio just completely died on me. No, it's there. I can hear it. Okay. Just really quiet though. I must have turned my volume down on my headphones at some point, and I don't know how to turn it back up because dual streaming setup, all the audio is no longer handled by the volume button. If I want to change it, I actually have to do, I have something basically like this on my other machine. This actually handles sending my audio from this PC. It actually sends it over the network to the other PC, which is actually in the moment recording everything. But there's another one of those over there which handles my speaker output, the monitor speaker output, and then my headset output, which I currently have the speakers disabled so we don't get echo, but the headset's there. It's supposed to be working, but I'm really not hearing audio out of it. Oh well, not what we're here for. We want a level. Short level. I'm going to actually have to move these into subfolders at some point. So we'll probably have to actually make a folder called campaign, then a folder called tests, and then a folder called tutorial, maybe. No, because test, then it'll be challenges, because we might do challenge maps. Then like debug maps. We're getting a weird. Oh, I didn't want to see that bug return. See how we're getting like a red line on that? That is actually a bug with the Unity tile engine. That's the whole reason why we have that extra pixel space. Man, I hope that doesn't... Oh man, that's... I hate Unity's tile map system so much right now. Like, back when I was using Unity 3, I made my own tile map system for one of the games I was working on. I never had these problems. Because it was a really simple mesh. It generated, it rendered, it had textures, it was good. I have no clue what the hell this is and why it's breaking. But I'm annoyed. Because now we've got these little breaks. Although, if remembering correctly, I probably shouldn't be so intense on this. We caused these when we downscaled the texture sheet. Okay, so I'm a little less panicked about that now. But let's make our smart tile. So we want to go objects, tiles. I had already started on toxic waste here. So we have this in inspector. It has no texture tile sheet. But we need to get our tiles. So we actually keep this open. I'm going to lock this because we're going to have to make logic for it. And this should be remarkably simple from what tutorials I've seen. But at this moment, this is the first one I've actually made. So, and by the way, how to actually make a new one of these, you just click create, and it's right here at the top. It's called a roll tile. You can make a brush too. There's several other cool things we're going to play with as we go. What was that? Tiles? Already got that. Tiles. So this is going to be our base tile. Oh, it's going to make it select it this way. Tutorial. Really? No, I'm going to save myself a lot of stress right now, and we're actually going to go find our tile. Oh, because it probably won't name them properly, will it? I don't think it will, so we're actually going to probably have to go in and actually name these. And let's pop this out. This is going to make it easier. There was a trick I saw somebody actually do to deal with this, how the fact these are so small, because you really, if you scale them up and down, it doesn't make any difference. But we can rename these. So let's actually unlock this. And so it's got a sprite, but I should be able to rename. I say this, and actually I cannot find a way to rename these now. Oh, there it is. So this is going to be our top right. So this is going to be top, or yeah, we'll call it waist, top, left actually. Yes, left. Not to name that wrong. And we're just going to go through and name these because it's going to make life easier. Because it's already generated all these, so then would be, this will be waist top. And this will make it easier to find them. And this would be waist top right. So like sleep deprived, I'm getting my left and right confused today. This will be left. Waist center. Waist right. Really wish it wouldn't snap me down the bottom after renaming though. Waist bottom left. Could be worse though. Rename waist bottom. And rename waist bottom right. There we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 textures for this. I think the actually recommends I think like 12 or 16. I don't remember which. We got that set up, so now we can drag this back down to its home. Which is a pain actually. I wish I had a bigger monitor, but I can't afford one, and I really don't want to go out of my way to go get one. Because I could probably find one at a salvage lot or something. It's usually where I get most of my monitors. I go places where they more or less sort of junking stuff. You'd be surprised how much equipment of mine that is basically salvage. So we got that. Now we can select this. Now we can just take them over to waste, and nothing shows up. Magic this is. Oh, is it really going to keep them the same name? Because it cares about the actual texture. I can fix this. So we just wasted like a few minutes of time, but we learned that you can't just rename the tiles. Which actually makes me wonder, because we got the tile palette over here. Could we have just drug in our sprites in here, the ones we actually wanted? I feel really stupid if that actually is the case. Remarkably stupid. I think we're gonna have to actually make another palette for this anyways, no matter what. So what we can do with this, go to the inspector after we unlock this. Sprite editor, we can actually rename the sprites from here. So paste, top left, waste top. This is one of the cool things why I always recommend people actually exploring the tools you have, because the only reason I even know this is here is because I actually bothered to pay attention to what was in this menu. And you can actually do all kinds of stuff, whether you can change the borders, you can play around with it. I don't know half of it does, but I know it's there. And one of these days while I'm doing something, it's going to click and go, oh yeah, I can use that for doing something. Bottom, left, paste, bottom, waste, bottom right. The only problem with actually naming it this way though is that in the asset view, if I go to make another toxic waste material, it'll show up the same. Or it'll show up the same name if I name it the same way, so like generic names are not useful. I just moved that by mistake. Cool. Apply. Theoretically that should rename them, and I should be able to then go back to my tile, which is all the way over here. What's really crappy about this, I almost wish I could make more than one project window. You cannot actually do that easily. You can make more than one, but as soon as you go to click stuff, both windows will update to the same view, which is really... I hope Unity fixes that one day. I would like to have multiple folders and actually have different folders looking at different things, because like when I'm working on software development, I can end up sometimes having like 6 windows open, like when I'm actually making things, because I need to be able to go this folder, this folder, this folder, and actually doing a ton of stuff. And it makes it even worse the fact that I'm actually using Notepad to do coding. I don't get a nice code view. Objects, tiles. Okay. So I actually want waste center as my default. And then effectively we just go through the list and can we actually just drag and drop all these? Can I not? No, it won't let me do that. So we're gonna have to just go through the list one at a time. So this is going to be our bottom, and effectively what we want to do is if we have an item below, no, if we don't have something below us, collider sprite, collider grid. Somebody mentioned, by the way, that you actually have to do stuff like that. I hope that I don't need to do some special rules like... Yeah, that should work. We don't really have fancy tiles, so this is going to be how we're going to have to do this. So our next tile, select, it's going to be the corner. Let's actually just go through and make sure we actually just grab all these. There is actually an importance to the order of these, and we'll probably have to fix a few things because I'm a novice to this, and I'm probably going to make a couple blunders while doing this. There's our top. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to actually leave the center in there, and the center is going to be if we have things on all sides. So this is going to be if we have corner, no, actually, definitely not something there, definitely not something there. If we have something there, something there, no. Let's do that. So if we have something on all four sides, this is going to be if we have something on these sides, something on these sides. Interesting thing is we actually could have made less textures because theoretically we could just rotate these. And this one's going to be those sides. And this one's going to be this side. So this should work. I'm going to go ahead and save. Importing assets. I do not like how that's behaving. Just get out of this asset folder though. This is supposedly how this works. Let's get rid of that. I don't know how this behaves when it actually connects to textures nearby it, so this may not work the way we want it to work. And we're just going to test this really quickly. One, we're going to have to create a new palette, and this would be, we're going to call these smart tiles. Yeah. So this is going to be objects. Tiles. Select folder. We're going to call it smart tiles just because I want to have a very generic thing really quickly for testing, and I can just figure this out later. Get this in here. Here we go. We have our toxic waste, and we should be able to come over here, zoom in, and if we draw, everything breaks. I'm just going to really quickly make something here, just so that way as we're trying to fix the logic, we can see it. Because we messed something up. So... So this is where I kind of think that how this is behaving. So let's actually go off of this area, and let's draw one of these over here. No, we're having problems with the corners here. So that would be this corner. No, that's not that corner. That would be this corner. There we go. So is this actually connecting to only itself? It actually remarkably is, which is making me kind of happy because it means we can do this. However, what we're realizing is if we actually do something like that, we don't have any logic for single tiles right now. So we're going to have to, because say we wanted to draw like a river like this, we don't have anything like that. So we don't have a tile for that. We could make one real quick, but this video has already gone long enough, so I'm just going to leave you guys here, and we'll be back with more content and updates later on.